Okay, welcome everyone. This is our February 3rd regular town council meeting. And we could go ahead and have our roll call, please.
Shannon.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Hampi.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Edwards. Morris.
Here.
Day.
Okay, and just for the record, I think Vice Mayor did mention she would not be able to attend tonight's meeting. Our first item is we have the privilege of having the Pledge of Allegiance done by Troop 2019 from Adams BSA. So with that, we welcome you all to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Are they coming here?
Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Scout salute. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Scout sign. Join me in the scout oath.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty, to honor my country, to obey the scout law, to help other people at all times, and keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Please join me in the scout law.
A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
Oh, I'd like to hand it off to Mikhail and then
Hello, everybody. Thank you for giving us the honor of being here to open the meeting. We have some tokens of appreciation, pins from the World Scout Jamboree that occurred this past summer in West Virginia. And we would like to present these pins from the International Union of Muslim Scouts unit that attended the Jamboree. It was 50,000 scouts from around the world in West Virginia coming together to work on global goals and local initiatives to make the world a better place to live in. So thank you all for having us here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I got it.
Thank you.
You deserve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate that. And tonight we have the privilege of having Rizwan Jaka from the Adams All Dulles Area Muslim Society to give our invocation for this evening. Rizwan, thank you for coming back, and we appreciate you and the Boy Scouts and everything that you all represent there.
Mayor, thank
Yeah.
you very much. We're honored to be back here, and it's an honor, we had come back previously twice before. We love Haymarket. As you know, the Scouts have the, Camp Snyder, which is here, so we're here often, and so we truly appreciate Haymarket being a wonderful home for the Boy Scouts of America, BSA, and it is a privilege to continue to be here and to do the flag ceremony and the prayer here today. And so, again, thank you to you, Mayor David Leake, and to the Town Council of Haymarket. And, as you know, the All Dulles Area Muslim Society, the second largest mosque in the USA, we have 11 branches and satellites. We have locations in Prince William County, Loudoun County, and Fairfax County, and the District of Columbia. And we work on religious freedom, we work on national security, civil rights, peace building, locally, regionally, nationally, around the world. Our Imam, our Executive Religious Director, just had the honor to meet the Pope in an interfaith Abrahamic forum at the Vatican just a few weeks ago. And he just came back from Auschwitz as we all stand together to counter hate, to counter bigotry. He was there with a world national world religious faith leaders from the Muslim community and the Jewish community to remember the Holocaust and pray for the victims, to work together to make sure never again, we must stand up together and say never again. And so, we will join in a invocation here, and again, honored to be here and look forward to continued participation. And again, thank you all for your leadership and civic engagement. And we'll go ahead and begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful. We begin with the name of God. God, who is everlasting, compassion, and never-ending mercy, are the saving grace of all of humanity. God, who is the source of peace and perfection. God, who is a protector. Dear Lord, let our actions be full of compassion and of passion for building together a world in which breaking bread together is normal, in which loving one another is normal, in which justice and peace are normal. A world in which our words, peace, salam, shalom, shanti, ring from every church and mosque, every synagogue and temple. We remember our duty to God and to our country, to help other people at all times and to make the world a better place. O Lord, help us to learn that we are a part of a land that embraces all who seek righteousness, decency, and steadfastness. O Lord, help us to remember we believe in civil rights, religious freedom, and respect for all. O Lord, help us to remember that you made us into nations and tribes so that we may know one another. Help us to stay true to the fact that there is no compulsion in faith or belief, and that we respect people of all faiths, people of no specific faith tradition, and people of all backgrounds. We pray that everyone comes together in unity and harmony. It is important that we remember that none of us truly believes until he wishes for his brother and sister for what he wishes for him or herself. Help us to stand for justice, as we are told by you, Lord, to be upholders of justice and bearers of witness to truth. O Lord, guide us to be helpful and considerate to all. May the Lord bless and help the Town Council of Haymarket and all their families. May the Lord guide them to do the best they can for Haymarket, Prince William County, Virginia, and the United States of America. We appreciate their leadership and sacrifice for the public good. Our nation is great. Our nation is vast. America is beautiful. Freedom is our most precious heritage. Help us to be passionate in its preservation and practice. O Lord, please bless the town of Haymarket, the Commonwealth of Virginia, the United States of America, and the whole world. Amen.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Absolutely. Our next item on our agenda is our public hearing from Van Meter. This is the amended SUP. And do we have a presentation or anything first?
I'll say a few words first, if
Sure.
I may.
Okay.
Council, we are on packet page 9. So at our last meeting, we had Van Meter. We were going to have a public hearing on the previous application. However, there was an amendment to that application. So at our last meeting, we closed it, and we did not have public comment that evening. So between then and now, it did go to the Planning Commission for their review of the amended application, as it was presented to you on the January's meeting agenda for informational purposes. It is back again tonight to the Town Council for your review. The change that occurred since the last time we held a public hearing is Van Meter has rearranged the layout of the townhomes to add additional commercial square footage there along Washington Street. I will let Mrs. Harrover go into the details of that project amendment, and you have my staff report through package page 13, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have regarding it. And as for the Planning Commission, they did recommend approval to the Town Council. So if there's
Okay.
anything I can answer during the presentation, let me know. Otherwise, we'll have Denise come up and give her portion of the presentation.
Okay. And then we'll open it up for public comments.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Denise Harrover and Boyd Barnett with Van Meter. Thank
appreciate your time. As you're aware, we have been here before and are back with what we believe is a better layout that provides some additional use along Washington Street. So I will go ahead and as you are aware, board, if you'd like to notate, the area in question is this particular parcel located between Hunting Path and the Haymarket Baptist Church and vet site. The first layout that we have provided council is what you see in front of you. This is the 38 townhomes. This was the very first blush at this plan. It has evolved over time, and now we are looking at the updated version. This version incorporates streetlights along Hunting Path Road. It incorporates the connection from Hunting Path into the internal site. It shifts the daycare so that we have the parking lot for the daycare school located behind our townhomes. This change shifted the entrance so that we could go ahead and preserve a site along Washington Street that would allow for some first floor retail or commercial with an option of having residential on the second story with a special use permit that we can come back for. This site still has the additional overage in parking that was asked about at one point. This site does continue to allow for the drop-off and circulation of the daycare users. We were asked to look at the area behind the townhouses and the parking for the school daycare. There was some concern that the fence line of these townhouses was very close to where the parking would be. Planning Commission wanted to make sure that we had some area in there that we would be able to put some bushes so that if a child were to come out of the townhouse back gate, that they wouldn't be stepping right into the parking lot. We have figured that we have about 15 feet behind the back of that townhouse fence line and the curb of the parking. So that gives us ample room to open the back gate as well as put in some bushes to create some screening to slow down anyone who might be coming out. We are still at 38 units. We have an additional 20 parking spaces over and above the 86 that are required by the town of Haymarket. Those are the major changes that we have made since we were last here, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions? Otherwise, we'll open up our public hearing.
I had,
To
the one concern I had is what I brought up at the planning commission meeting, and you addressed it right away, is some type of barrier. Exactly, yes, sir. Right through there. That was the thing that we brought up, concerned with children who are walking straight to the parking lot. They've addressed that. Good job on that. Thank you. I have nothing else.
Okay. Any other questions from the council for the applicant or?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Okay.
I think that.
That's fine.
Well,
We'll go ahead with no objection. We're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing for this. If people that like to speak, if they could just come up to the mic there and just your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's Patty Kuntz. I live in 5327 Bowers Hill Drive. I'm speaking tonight to ask you to vote against this development. I'm not against businesses coming into Haymarket. I think that's wonderful. What my concern is are the townhomes. Where besides the fact that we're talking at least 80 more cars that will be going down a 2-lane road, 80 more cars trying to get on 66 in that wonderful X that we all have to go through. I don't know if any thought was put into where these children are going to be going to school. Yes, there's a daycare center, but there's going to be older children. We all know that Battlefield is the #1 most crowded school in Northern Virginia. There's 3,000 children that go to that school. It is very overcrowded with 21 trailers that surround that school. My children go there. We live across the street from that. We have to deal with the fact that the buses come in and the traffic comes in every morning. We can't leave our neighborhood between 6:45 and 7:15 when all those vehicles are coming in. The other one, if you go to Patriot, they're the second most. We have 21 trailers. They have 20. If you ever walk down the hallways, I invite you all before you vote to go walk in the hallways of Battlefield when the classes switch, because you literally cannot move. It's a huge din walking through those. My older son is deaf in one ear, and he couldn't hear anything in the hallway because everything was coming in on his left side. It was very hard for him, very stressful. I talked to Mr. Ferreira today. Major stress is the traffic, major stress is the movement, and the other stresses are the fact that it's so large. These children can't play sports. My younger son is a freshman this year. He tried out for freshman football. They actually had to cut 20 children off of freshman football. It used to be if you were in freshman football, you played. You may not make JV or varsity, but you got to play, you got to make friends, you got to be part of a team. So when you went to school, you had friends already. They cut 20 kids. You know why? They didn't have enough helmets for them because so many kids try out. Now, luckily, my son made it, which is great. But once again, there were so many kids on the team, he barely got to play. My other son tried out for soccer the first year. There were over 100 kids trying out for soccer for 22 slots. He never tried out again. Never tried out. My younger son, once again, tried out for indoor track. Over 100 kids tried out. Didn't make it because there was no JV. He was up against juniors and seniors. Same thing if you're trying out for a play. 200 kids try out for 10 spots. This causes the marginalization of children. This is when they get marginalized and they give up. These are the things that are happening. Where are they going to go to middle school? They're going to go to Reagan. Same thing. They have 5 portables. There's 1,800 kids in that school. 1,200. I talked to Mr. Murgo today. They're hoping that they get slotted to get another wing put onto their school because they're so overcrowded, but then that means they're going to have 1,800 kids in that school. Same thing. Kids are trying out for things, they're not making it because there's just not enough. Now, I know they're building up that 3rd high school. That's great. It's going to take 1,000 kids out of Battlefield. Great. We're still overcrowded. It was built for 1,500. There'll be 2,000 in there. You have to think of where they're going. Haymarket Elementary, totally full. Tyler, full. Where are these kids going to go? This unfettered building, without any thought to where this is going to happen, where are these kids going to be, has to stop. This is why we have the most overcrowded schools in Northern Virginia. And Battlefield's #1, Patriots #2. I need you to think about this seriously. I would love more businesses to come. That's going to up your tax revenue. We don't need another townhome community. Houses on top of houses, at least with 2 cars, maybe 3. But it's the children you have to think about. You have to think about where they're going and the stresses that they shouldn't have to deal with at this age. So the other thing is the academics, is the overcrowded classrooms. As a former teacher, I know the bigger your class, you deal with the me's, I know everything, and then you deal with the discipline problems. And that quiet kid in the corner getting decent grades gets ignored. That was my first child. He was pretty much a ghost in high school. It was too overwhelming for him, too big. These are things children shouldn't have to go through. So please think hard, and please go to Battlefield. Mr. Ferreira would love to show you around. Walk through those halls and see if we need, 80 more kids? 120 more kids? Think about it, seriously. Thank you.
All right, and thank you, ma'am, for your comments there.
Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul. It's been a while, been busy, and I would associate myself with her clients, and I would actually expand on them. A similar plea was made to you a little less than 2 years ago when you approved the townhouses on the fairground property. It was made to you by a school board member, and you ignored it. The county has seemingly ignored it too because they've added more units, and the schools are going to get increasingly crowded, and there's no money to fix it. There's no land to fix it. There's no facilities to fix it. And if anybody thinks that the 13th high school is going to solve the problem, I got a news flash for you. The recent numbers show that it's going to open at capacity, and it's not going to reduce Battlefield's enrollment by 1,000. It's going to reduce it by significantly less than that. I said much of this several months ago when this first came in, and I've been absent for a couple of months, but nothing's changed. The plan is relatively the same. It's just, you've moved the deck chairs around a little bit. The traffic issues that this town is facing in the very near future are something that you guys should be considering. Allowing this parcel to develop at the max density under an SUP without conditions, given what's coming from the fairgrounds property, several thousand trips a day, what's coming from the hotel, what's coming from the other development west on 55, west of 15, and then adding several hundred more trips a day. It's not 80, it's several hundred trips per day. On 55, when the residents can't pull out of their neighborhoods now, is unconscionable. You've heard all of this from me before. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I am going to point a couple of things out just from looking at the couple of additional things from looking at the plan and the submission by the applicant. It's interesting. Most of you are familiar with the Amazon project for the power lines, and some of you are familiar with the issues with the terminus of that particular project, namely the Amazon data center on 55. There was an argument before the Army Corps of Engineers, one that I was at. None of you were, but there was an argument before the Army Corps of Engineers regarding the historic significance of that site. And the county historian came in and said that that site was the location of within the core area of the Buckland Mills battlefield. The applicant's historic engineer or historic consultant came in and said, no, that's not the case. Everybody's got it wrong. The actual location of the battle was at the Sheets and east of Sheets in Haymarket. That consultant, the very same Thunderbird that you have listed in here. Thunderbird has changed their definition of the Buckland Mills battlefield with every application that's come in over the last 10 to 20 years. And they're changing it yet again. If you read it, it says there's nothing of any historic significance. I still have the documentation from the Army Corps of Engineers hearing and their maps and their testimony. There needs to be a little more thought put into this, and I think that's my greatest problem. Everything here is being rushed through. The applications that are being handled by the town are being done in 1/4 of the time that the county handles them. They do a much more extensive review, and I would suggest that you have the responsibility to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. Nothing I haven't heard before, nothing you haven't heard before, but we have a town to build. God bless you for doing what you do, for sitting up there and ignoring crap like that.
Ma'am.
Continue, Ms. Leonard.
Who said that?
I did.
Did that offend you?
Yes, ma'am.
If we could just continue to let the citizens speak,
I do still have freedom of speech, last time I checked. I'm just saying, I've served on the planning commission with him. I've seen it over and over, where 2 or 3 people make all the decisions for the town, and nothing gets approved. We're finally getting things done. This town hall is painted and finished. God bless you for doing what you did. I'm just saying, it's way overdone. Why that was even required to have an SUP, I don't know. Some of the rules that are being made now don't make any sense at all. Townhouses are allowed there. They join townhouses. There's commercial on the front. It makes perfect sense to me and a lot of other people. I don't know those guys from Van Meter. I know that one of them is related to Mr. Harover. But I'm just saying, this town has been here a long time. I went to the ARB meeting the other night, not ARB, Planning Commission meeting the other night, and they were discussing charrettes. We've done a charrette here in the past. We wasted the town's money already on a charrette. It's just stuff to delay getting our town finished. Thank God the hotel is coming. Thank God that a shot in the arm is coming to this town. We're beating ourselves in the foot for no reason at all. But I know you all are wiser than that. And all I can say is, if you don't have enough wisdom on your own, ask God for some. He's the source of it. The source of wisdom is God himself. And see through this stuff. We're worried about Amazon outside of town. This is our little half a square mile. We had our former planner, who's now on our ARB, who thinks he's still a planner, saying that we should approve all of that stuff up at the intersection of 15 and 55, and nothing is being done. I sure wouldn't want to stop something that's ready to be done. 38 measly townhouses. There are people who really want a place to live, who would like to live in this town. But they have been approved for over a year, and they haven't put a single stick in a townhouse up there. I'm shaking, but I'm not nervous. It's Parkinson's, so don't feel sorry for me. I'm just saying, get your eyes open, ask God for wisdom. This is a good project. It's not that big. I wish it had a few more in it.
okay. And thank you for your comment, ma'am. Anyone else like to address the council for this public hearing? Now's your chance. All right, seeing none, and if no objections, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. All right, and our next item on our agenda is our citizens' time. A chance to hear from our citizens other than the public hearing comments. So at this time, if anybody would like to come up and address the council, just the name and address for the record. Just making sure we have a full opportunity. Anyone else for citizens' time?
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. This is personal stuff, not about the public hearing. I still have an issue with the town over decisions that were made in the past by people whose names I've already mentioned tonight that involved the taking of the front of my property. And I am holding on with everything that's in me to not sue my town. But I would be a fool not to if just and right treatment doesn't happen for me soon. I appreciate the fact that I've been allowed to demo my house before it falls in on me. But a huge piece of my property was taken, and I was offered $3,000 for a huge piece of B1 property. And they used as a comp, and remember, I'm a commercial realtor for 30 years. My B1 property, I was offered $3,000 for taking a huge piece of the front, and I had received $40,000 for a piece smaller than that from the property next door for a property line adjustment to declare a buffer. To declare it as a buffer, they gave me $40,000. The town gave me $3,000. And I recently found out that another little, but let me add two, they used as a comp Route 1 in Woodbridge. I know better than that, and I'm sure all of you do too. And some of those same people that are trying to give you advice tonight were involved in that. And I have all the records I need. I don't ever want to sue this town. I love this town. I've lived here for almost 50 years. I spent more than 20 years serving it, and I'm one of the most faithful citizens in this town that still comes because I love the town and I care about it. And I've seen so many of you make wonderful, good decisions, and I'm grateful for it. And because I know my time is almost up, not the time, but my time to speak tonight, I want to say I need to move forward with this project to protect myself, because it recently came to my attention that a residential property that had given up a fraction of what I gave up, that wasn't Zone B1, got $17,000. I rest my case in this room.
All right, and thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Evening, Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul. Please for the moment. I'd intended to come here tonight and actually talk about finances and tax rates, what's going on in Richmond, some of the things that you're facing in the very near future because of legislation that has already cleared the House in many circumstances and is likely to clear the Senate, which has both good and bad implications for the town, depending on which bill you look at. Some of them are going to cost the town significantly. But in having heard what I just heard, I think I'm about at it. It's been alleged that certain elected members did certain things with regard to certain condemnations for certain amounts of money. I can tell you, that's not how it happened. I can tell you that was all the responsibility of the town's hired condemnation attorney, and that the town council at the time had no input. I can tell you that because I didn't want to hire the condemnation attorney. I actually voted against it because I thought we could work with the residents and come to it at a cheaper price, not with the residents, but rather with the process. So I'm tired of hearing the same old people get blamed for the same old things and you getting only half of the truth. And I'll leave you with this. That buffer that was referenced, it wasn't sold, really. It was supposed to be gift deeded back. The town found out about it when the courthouse called us and told us that the property had been gift deeded back to the applicant. It was an illegal gift deed. We had to issue a stop work order on Centex. They came in and argued it. And after threatening to litigate, when we refused to budge, they bought the parcel back because it was necessary for the subdivision, it was necessary for the site plan, and the matter was closed. If you've got any questions about it, it's all in the town records. It's very easy to access, and if the records have disappeared, I've still got copies in my house. Thank you.
All right, and thank you for your comments there, sir. Anyone else would like to address the council? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close our citizens' time. Our next item on our agenda is our minutes approval for work session January 6th and our regular scheduled meeting, town council meeting for January 6th. We're on page 2 to 3 and page 4 to 8 of our packet. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve our January 6, 2020 work session and our January 6, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman Shannon. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Our next item is our agenda items. We're on page 9 through 27 of our packet, the consideration for the amended SUP from Van Meter. At this point, I'll go ahead and bring this over to Ms. Lockhart for further comments.
After hearing public comments and concerns, does the council have any questions for myself, other staff members, the applicant? Are there additional items that you wish to see prior to any decisions?
Not for me.
Questions for Ms. Emily or any of our staff? Okay. I wanted to see from the council if we have a consensus to act on this tonight. Considering some of the public hearings, I'm just kind of surprised that we haven't heard from more people, and I don't know if it's the fact that we do post a sign on the property, if we do legally fill the box and put the notices out there to the public paper, but I'm just not sure that we have a good pulse on this tonight. I know that in the past, this room was filled up when it came to a similar application with almost double the size, but still within 100 of townhomes. And I'm just wondering if we do have all the information. I'm also concerned that we're missing a voting body here tonight as well. And with that, I want to see if there's a consensus to either act on this tonight or to possibly table it to put it on the agenda for next month. And I'll start from my left here. Councilman Day, your thoughts, sir?
I prefer to table it.
Okay. Councilman Morse?
I'm ready to act.
Let me start writing this down then. Okay. Councilman Panthy?
Ready to act.
Councilman Leake?
Torn, your mayor, in regards to the mere fact that if you look back and look at the number of public hearings, or as well as the amount of times that it was on an agenda item, whether it be with the planning commission or the town council, the public was given ability to speak on this application dating all the way back to August of 2019. I believe that is adequate amount of time in regards to the planning commission for folks to be able to come in and speak. At the same time, I always believe in communication and transparency, to where I have no hard feelings with leaving a public hearing open or scheduling another public hearing for the ability for folks to be able to come in and speak at the town council level. As the last town council meeting that we had, we ended up closing that public hearing, and we only held the one there, being, I believe, in December, because the plan had changed a little bit, and the applicant came in and spoke on their modified plan. So torn in those regards, Mayor, but I will go ahead and yield on the side of caution and always allowing our citizens to be able to come in and speak. And I would say that I have no issue with tabling this, giving them the ability to come and speak at the next meeting.
I'm ready to act. We've had the planning commission as well as town council public hearings, so I'm ready to act.
Okay, and there again, my consideration would be for the vice mayor of her ability to speak on this matter, and I don't know which way she would go on this. And as we can see, just by the sheer numbers, her decision would make this almost a split vote on acting or not acting for tonight, and possibly approving or disapproving tonight. So I would just, I guess not, I would ask the council just for that aspect alone, if it's a matter of even calling a special meeting just for identifying this, I would be willing to call that at the expense, just to make sure we have everyone's thoughts or views on this. And there again, I'm not knowing whether or not someone's going to be in favor or opposing this, but just the fact that it would give one other voting member of our body. So for those ones that are wanting to act, I'm asking you all, is this something that truly that you want to act without this other voting person? It looks like Mr. Morris, you were the first act.
I'm ready to act.
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay.
I'm ready to act.
Okay. Well, with that, there is a draft motion, I believe, on page 13 of our packet here.
I move the town council approve the Van Meter special use permit request as presented in the amended application with the proposed conditions of approval as presented.
I will second.
Okay. Discussion on this motion.
Mayor, I think that we have a lot of discussion. I would like, one, for the ability for the applicant to come back and speak to any comments that were given during the public hearing, to be able to, one, speak, and then after they do have that ability to speak, I would like to have some question and answering with the applicant as well before a roll call vote is taken.
So, bottom line, I just want to make sure I understand that. So, with this discussion is on the motion, so you're asking for someone to defer this motion?
No, I'm not asking for the.
Right.
Well, the way that I would have interpreted this evening to go would be that the applicant were to come back up after the public hearing, as we've done with all of our other public hearings, for them to be able to speak to the comments that had come up at that public hearing. At that time, then be able to have the ability to have question and answers from the dais to the applicant to answer any questions that we may have. I held off on my questions until the public hearing was over, because I thought it was going to be an action item to where we were going to have the ability to have a question and answer with them. At that time, then go ahead and offer to see if there was a motion to act on that item. Since there has been a motion already made, I have no problem having this conversation, because the objection of my statement is going to be in regards to the motion that was made. I have no problem having that conversation. But yes, it's going to be to have the applicant to be able to come up to speak in regards to any comments that were made during the public hearing, and then allow for question and answer from the dais to the applicant.
Okay, so, Councilman Shannon, since you were one of the makers of the motion, I'll allow you to go ahead and...
My concern, I understand where Councilman Leak is coming from, but at the same time, the lady who spoke tonight, I certainly understand her concerns, but it's nothing that we haven't heard before when we were doing the Melodon project. She talked about traffic. Traffic's going to be an issue no matter what we do. School overcrowding, and with a number of children in the school not having opportunities for athletics, theater and stuff, which I certainly understand that. Having grandkids who do that, I can understand that. But I don't believe that the applicants have any control over that or can speak to that. Again, I'm ready to act.
Okay, and the reason why we have a council here is to keep us in check. As we all know, we had a council rules of procedures that we all agreed on and voted on and executed by resolution. I'm going to go ahead and let the council, Martin, speak on just our procedures, because I think we're going into an area here that Councilman Leak has brought up. But go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. According to your council rules of procedure, Section 5-5,
dealing with public hearings. After public comments have been received in a land use case, the applicant or the representative of the applicant at his or her discretion may respond with a rebuttal. There should be a 5-minute time limit for rebuttal. And it also says in subsection D that council members may direct questions to the applicant, the representative of the cognizant board, authority, et cetera, to a speaker or to a staff member for clarification prior to taking any vote if a vote is in order. So you have in your rules that you would allow the applicant, if they wish, to have up to 5 minutes for rebuttal from public comments, and then council members have the right to ask questions of the applicant or any speaker.
With that, barring another motion that I think we can do to keep this simple, is maybe if we go ahead and withdraw the motion, allow this to go through our procedures that we have on place here, and then if I would entertain another motion if desired by council, if that's agreeable to us all.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would temporarily withdraw the motion until the applicant has given due diligence in their 5-minute presentation and after questions to them temporarily.
Okay, great.
I would second, unless Madhu has to, but I wouldn't. I don't have problems with that.
Okay, so basically we got a withdrawal of the motion from the person making it and the person that seconded it, so we're going to remove that off as a motion.
Madhu seconded a while
I'm sorry.
ago, so he wouldn't have to do it now.
Apologies, I thought it was, yes.
Okay.
You as well. Okay, great. So we're back to prior to a motion being discussed. As you could hear, we would like to now hear back from the applicant for some of the concerns that were addressed tonight.
Could you get her a microphone, though?
Yeah, we need 2 mics, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Roy Barnett. I am Group President of Van Meter Companies in charge of acquisition, planning, and development. To respond to certain of the comments, first I'd like to say that we have diligently tried to work with all the boards, Planning Commission, council, staff, in trying to devise a development plan for this infill parcel that is compatible with the comprehensive plan, is compatible with the neighborhood, and compatible with the existing development along Washington Street. I would like to just go to the display, please. So in the public comments, and I think as previously discussed in the dais tonight, that there are certain issues dealing with the school system that are outside each individual applicant's control in a land use application. What we can say, and to correct the record from one speaker, was he said this was a special use permit without conditions. I would like to have the record say that that is incorrect, and that this special use permit does have conditions. There's a page and a half of conditions, and within those conditions, even though this is not a proffered rezoning, so these are not proffers that are proffered by the applicant, but conditions put on the approval by the town of Haymarket, those conditions which we did agree to include a payment of approximately $20,000 of various sums of money to various actions or activities in areas within the town, including fire and rescue, parks and recreation, and school systems. I think particularly in the school system, we talk about adding children to schools, but no discussion was talked about reducing children from schools. And what we're bringing with this application is the opportunity to have some of those children who are in public schools come to a private school that is specialized in science, technology, English, mathematics, and engineering, and the arts, and very reputable operator of such school system. So I think there's a converse here that we are contributing through a condition, a sum of money to try to advance helping the facilities at the public schools, buying those helmets or whatever that money may be used for, working on the athletics, or however the school, we don't control the money, we're contributing it. But we would hope that it would go to some of those areas that were mentioned in concerns tonight. From the taking children away, again, we have the school system here at full build out would handle up to 250 children. In regards to the transportation issue. We have used Doug Kennedy with Peony, who Doug has been a transportation engineer in Northern Virginia for over 30 years and grew up under the stewardship of another gentleman named John Callow, who is one of the better renowned traffic engineers in all the Washington metropolitan area. In those analyses by Doug Kennedy with the school and the townhouses, has presented 2 reports and even updated reports as we've modified this plan as we've went, that show that we have mitigated our transportation impacts that would arise as we have developed the plan. In regard to archaeology, Thunderbird Archaeology, which is now owned by, well, was owned by Wetland Studies and Solutions, and now is owned under the wing of Davey Trees. Thunderbird Archaeology, or their present name of that successor, has done the archaeological study on this. But it's not Thunderbird alone. Any archaeological study done in Northern Virginia is done in correspondence and consultation with the State Historic and Archaeological Group in Richmond. And it was the state group that said that what findings they had on this site were not of archaeological or historical significance. So I think it's not just looking at some local consulting group, but this is coming through consultation with the state agency responsible for archaeology. Time. We have, and I think that was referenced to just a few minutes ago, I think this is probably 7th or 8th presentation that we've been in front of the Planning Commission or the Town Council between work sessions and public hearings and back to work sessions. And I just would like to close in saying that everybody in Northern Virginia wants to talk about housing affordability. But one of the biggest things that happens in housing affordability is time costs dollars. And every time there's a delay, that increases cost, increases housing costs throughout the Northern Virginia region. So with that, I would be available for any questions from council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. And questions from the council?
Just a correction, you did say 20,000, but it should be 20,000 per unit.
Thank you very much. It is $20,000 per unit.
And just for the clarification of the school too, this isn't part of just for the listening audience and to people, that this isn't part of Prince William County school system. This is an individual owner that is doing a higher level, education for multiple ages.
That is correct. This is a private entity that's providing an educational alternative to something that you either would not receive because you're going to a child care center, or if you're at school age, going to kindergarten or early elementary school. Those alternatives would be, there is an alternative to that is privately funded through the parents of those children, who are also still paying the taxes to support the public schools.
What are the age groups for the school?
The age group is 0 to 12, I believe. Not 0, they have to be trained, but by 1.5 to 12.
Sure.
Thank you.
Understood. Other questions?
Just real quick, if I may. On packet page 24, 25, and 26, you'll find those conditions of approval that were referenced if you have any interest in looking at those right now.
That's a good point. Thank you. So, Councilman Leake.
If it's my turn to speak, I'd be more than happy to.
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. Take us back down memory road real quick. June 6, 2019. The Town Council and the Planning Commission held a joint work session with the developer on the western side of the town to discuss the potential of 40 plus or minus townhomes. At that meeting, Chairman Cottle, Commissioner Corral, and Councilmember Shannon were there on the Planning Commission, as well as Town Council. We had Mayor Leake, Councilman Shannon, myself, Madhu, Vice Mayor Edwards, Ms. Cavazos, and Mr. Day. It was unanimous from when I went back and reviewed the meeting amongst the planning commission and the council for that density, for that amount of townhomes that no one was for, whether it be the planning commission or the town council. So my question, and it's more of a rhetorical question, is where's the difference? What has changed since that time to this time in regards to bringing in that density of amount of homes into here? There's no way that the two home difference from 40 plus or minus to 38 is the answer there. That just doesn't go back. So I went and I wanted to make sure that I did my due diligence, and I'm not sure if council has, but I went back and I watched the August 19th Planning Commission meeting. I watched the September 16th, the October 21st. I was not here for our December meeting, but I did go back and watch again the Planning Commission meeting here most recently on January 21st, 2020. Each time something had changed with Van Meter. And at that point, that's where I referenced earlier to the point to where I believe that the Planning Commission has given the opportunity for folks to come and speak, because again, we just went through 4 meetings here. But as each one, I think some great points were brought up, and I think it's some great points that need to be shared through this evening for the dais to deliberate through. As we all know, we're in the midst of revamping our comprehensive plan. Within the work session that I watched with the Planning Commission, their major concern, which is actually on that board right over there, which Mr. Barnett was at, was traffic, was school population, does it fit, and is it historical? Those were their main topics that they wanted to go through in regards to that comprehensive plan. Traffic's going to happen with any development. Any type of development, an owner has their right to develop a property. Not trying to argue that. Each use drives a certain vehicle traffic count, vehicle per day count, and that's why we utilize TIAs and VDOT 527s, and on traffic that's 5,000 more on a vehicle trip count. But it's how you can manage the traffic is key. So do we have the walkability? Are we doing the streetscape? Do we have a right-hand taper to go into the parcel? Is the parcel going to be a right-in, right-out only, as VDOT has shared along Washington Street? Is there ability to put in a left-hand turn lane? It's those traffic impacts. I mean, no matter what, there's going to be a traffic impact. The TIA that was offered, anybody read the TIA? All 62 pages. I don't blame you. It's pretty boring, as all TIAs are. But the TIA that was offered, and as it's presented, in my opinion, is inaccurate based upon the plan that is presented in front of us. If you look at the TIA that was offered, you would have to go, I think it was, all the way back to the August meeting that was actually in the physical packet itself. But the TIA that was offered, they did their trip counts, I believe it was on a Thursday, May 9th of 2019, and then the actual report was published, I forget if it was either October 8th or October 18th, but that was put in front of us. The reason why I make this statement that I feel that is inaccurate is, one, it does not take into consideration the plan change that is proposed in front of us this evening. At that, the TIA that was presented, as well as that is available to us, does not have the new commercial use that is up front. It still has the same amount of dwellings, being 38 dwelling units. It still has that, but it does not have the new commercial use that is up front, which will then show an impact to that TIA. Is it going to trigger the 5,000 vehicle per day count that's going to then require a formal VDOT 527? No. Now the traffic engineer did go through and they did put a draft 527 into play, and they did put some thought into that, which I can thank them for. But also page 13 of that TIA references a Haymarket Baptist existing traffic conditions. It does not adequately calculate all the drop-off and pickup times in the peak period. It only mentions 2. As we know, or as I know, Haymarket Baptist has 3. They have their AM, their PM, and their full day, which I feel that would make a large impact into that. They only collected the 0830 to 0930, and then the 1230 to 1330, 2 pickup times. They didn't do the evening one. It also states traffic splits are more from the west than the east. If this is so, if we know that more traffic is coming from the west side of town in, then we need to look at other traffic conditions that can be offered with this SUP to fix that, whether it be a left-hand turn lane, whether there's enough room to put a left-hand turn lane, what is going to be necessary for that, or is it going to be a right in, right out only? I think that is very important to go in regards to this SUP. The other things, this is not taken into it does take into consideration the John Marshall Commons and the Crossroads Village Center, but it does not take into consideration the hotel development that has been gone through site plan and approved conditionally, as well as our Jefferson Street commercial use that has come in there. So without having that information in there, I feel that the TIA is needed to be updated to get more accurate traffic counts. From there, we look at a special use permit. What is a special use permit? What are the characteristics that have to be looked at when we're actually dealing with a special use permit? So 58.1-7, specifically paragraph D, deals with special uses shall be approved if its design, location, construction, method of operation, special characteristics, and other aspects satisfy the following standards. First one that it looks at, it says, the proposed use shall be stipulated, location shall be in accordance with the official policies of the adopted comprehensive plan and with any specific element of such plan. So obviously our zoning ordinance, and then we have our comp plan. Our comp plan and our zoning ordinance somewhat contradict each other in regards to this parcel in itself. Why is that? Well, if you go back one comp plan before and you look at the 96-07 comp plan, this was already zoned B1 for town center, as well as the future land use map showed that it was going to be a town center, business center. Nothing in regards to transition commercial or anything along those lines, but standard business along that Washington Street, because we wanted to have the walkability, we wanted to have that business along Washington Street. You then go to our 08 plan, which was updated. At that point, the zoning, remind you, stays the same as B1, but the future land use map changed to a transition commercial. It changed to where it states that the redevelopment of residential buildings along Washington Street should be utilized as commercial, pushing towards that commercial upfront on Washington Street. From there, you look at, does this follow our intent of our B1 district? So the second point being, the proposed use shall be in accordance with the general purpose and intent of the applicable zoning district requirements. So section 58-10.1, what is the intent of the B1? The intent of the B1, the town center district, provides primarily for retail shopping and personal services to be developed either as a unit or in individual parcels oriented to attracting pedestrian shoppers, tourism, and local convenience. We always state this, we want to be a walking town. But how do you get to that walking town feasibility? You get it by putting businesses up and along Washington Street. This is needed to be able to promote that tourism aspect. We have a landmark, we have a primary major anchor that's going to be soon coming into the town in the corner, which is only a block and a half away from this parcel. I then look at it and I say, okay, why not slide the school back? Why not do commercial fully upon the frontage of Washington Street on both sides of the entrance? Now, I know the answer, it's a bit rhetorical, because I watched the different meetings over time, specifically the October 21st, 2019 meeting. I don't want to paraphrase, so if Mr. Barnett wants to answer it, I'd be more than happy to open the floor to that question of why you did not want to do more commercial use in there, rather majority being residential. I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I'll allow him to answer, and then I'll go back with my findings from watching that. If you don't recall.
If you don't, I think I remember even asking that question to the applicant, or the.
Well, I allow
the
Mr.
school.
Barnett to answer.
Sure, no, absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I do want to make sure that we're all looking at the same TIA, because there was an update to the TIA dated the end of December or early January.
Okay.
And it was a 10-page update based on the proposed uses that we're showing tonight and the full analysis done at that time. Just not prepared, because I'm a civil, not a traffic engineer, so I'm not going to get into your different things there, but I will say that having dealt on 55 on a couple projects now, that they do take in growth factors and other uses. But as far as businesses on 55, we look, and what this plan has tried to do all along is try to maintain the front half of this area, which is about 3.5 acres, to commercial uses. But then because the plan is have commercial uses, but then provide transitional uses to protect the existing neighborhoods, the existing residential neighborhoods. You have a substantial residential neighborhood to the north. And what this plan did was protect and transition from business uses that are along Main Street. And what we did with the revised plan was rotate the school, because previously we had the school all the way along the front and didn't have that continuous building line or more building line to commercial. The school is a B2 or B1 use.
All right.
The building we've added here was to create that streetscape, create that street vision along Main Street, still maintaining the transition, but as importantly, providing more walkability and more connectivity through this to bring the residential neighborhoods to Washington Street so that we can support the businesses on Washington Street. And you can get to a point where you're spreading businesses too wide, spread apart. And we had this in another jurisdiction where you want to have concentrated businesses and you don't want to have a lot of for lease signs or for sale signs. So what we did here was rotate the school. By doing that, we were able to add another business on Main Street so that we could keep the streetscape and work to make sure that we're maintaining the historical character at the same time of the town of Haymarket by having the entrances and everything facing, make us pedestrian friendly.
Thank you, Mr. Barnett.
I think also just for clarity, and I'm not sure if it was at the meeting or not, or our meeting with the school, but to answer your question, she did not want the building in the back, because I think I asked that. It's like, what if we put the building in the back? Could that be? And her feeling was that her business, she wanted that front Washington Street frontage.
So in regards to that, Mr. Barnett did state that, as well as if you go to the October 21st meeting, about 19 minutes in, it stated that the developer did not see the need for the increase in commercial uses because of the lack of interest within their project further on the east end of Washington Street. It was also stated that vacancy rates increased as you move further back from the main road. I agree. Mixed-use developments are phenomenal. The reason why mixed-use developments are phenomenal is they allow for direct clientele to those commercial uses. It encourages development within more dense, more compact areas of land. It reduces traffic because residential uses drive a lower vehicle per day count. What I'm getting at, though, is that I understand why they did not put more commercial into the back, because just as with the Van Meter project that's coming in on the eastern side of us, if you look, there are two commercial uses that are there, 325 feet off the road and roughly 550 feet off the road. Vacancy rates can be assumed are going to be high because there's no one who can really see that they're there, as well as your price per square foot is going to drop increasingly as you get further back from the road. What I'm saying and what I'm pushing for, and that I think that is the best use for this, is to push the school back, drop off. You're going to lose about 14 units, but you push the school back, you put another strip of commercial use up front along Washington. It still allows the school to be up front, but it promotes that retail, it promotes that tourism. If you want to be a walking town, you need to have buildings up and on that Washington Street that are going to allow folks to utilize those. Again, mixed-use developments are good. I'm not saying that the mixed-use development's not smart. It's going to be great. If you were to just put that entire thing to be commercial, you're going to have vacancy rates in the back. I agree with Mr. Barnett's comments from October 21st that you're going to have those because no one can see what is physically back there. So the units in the back, great, but we need more commercial up front. We then look at number 3, which states the proposed use shall not adversely affect the use or values of surrounding properties and structures. I don't see it. I see it as increasing the values The proposed use shall not adversely affect the health, safety, and general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood. I don't see how it would negatively affect health, safety, or general welfare. Number 5 being pedestrians, vehicle traffic generated by the proposed use shall not be hazardous or conflict with the existing and anticipated traffic in the neighborhood. I do think that this would be a hazard. I do believe that a left-hand turn lane needs to be looked at going into there. Otherwise, the stacking that's going to be on Washington Street is going to be crazy. As well as the look, if a left-hand turn is not feasible by VDOT, then a right-in, right-out only, as what Marias has to do on the other side. I don't see how a smaller use as Marias being 50, maybe 50 vehicle days, a VPD, excuse me, over this would be forced to do right-in, right-out, when this would be able to have the ability to go to left-hand out of here. Then lastly, the utility, drainage, parking, loading, and other necessary facilities provided serve the proposed use and shall be adequate. I believe they are adequate. So why did we zone this B1 when our folks were looking at these comp plans all the way back to the 80s when our first one was done? I mean, my take on it is because we need that commercial use up and along Washington Street. If you look at our current budget, where do our revenues come from? Specifically, line item 3120, specifically other local taxes. We get about roughly a little under 1.4 million of our local budget that comes in from bank stock, business license, cigarette, consumer utility, meals tax, sales tax receipts. Those bring in just under 1.4. Our real estate tax brings in just under 400K. We need to be looking at our future revenue streams. We have commercially zoned parcels for a reason, to provide different commercial taxes being able to bring in through those different revenue streams. Again, mixed-use development, great. It helps both parties. But at the end of the day, there needs to be more commercial up on Washington Street to promote that walkability, to promote that retail and tourism, push the school back. You'll lose about 12 units there. But that one, the traffic, we're going to have traffic no matter what. Residential uses, we know, drive a lower amount of traffic. 2, looking at it, the schools are overpopulated already. The roughly $10,000, I believe it is, per that was offered as a condition, $9,000 and change, will go towards a school, but that's not going to build a school in itself. I really think, and I urge council to go back and watch those meetings. I commend the Planning Commission for going through. I believe Commissioner Nick Pirelli brought up some great talking points in regards to exactly what I mirrored here. There needs to be more commercial along Washington Street to allow, to promote that business, that front-end entrance, walking in to those, just as we have with the Foster's building, Cupcake Heaven building. I mean, those allow folks to walk right up, right into. But without that, you are going to push away from a walkable town. You're going to get away from that feeling, that aspect. If you look at Old Town Manassas, or you look at the town of Middleburg, that's what they have there. They have the properties right up on the road frontage, which promote that tourism, as well as the residential units that are as well as up on that road frontage. But I really urge council to reconsider sending this back to the Planning Commission for them to take a look at having the developer come with a new plan with commercial along the entire portion there of Washington Street, scooting the school back, which would then take out about eight homes, and then it would also take out the 4 for parking needs necessary to park the new commercial along Washington Street. But I really feel that if we look at that and we continue to put in these SUPs, to put in townhomes in the B1 district or B2 districts being zoned commercial, we're going to start losing out on revenue streams that we're going to need to be able to fund our budgets in years to come. I'm for the mixed use, but not for the density of what it currently is being presented today.
I've obviously allowed you to talk a lot, and I would love to hear from other council as well for some.
How many vehicles per day with those homes right now, you estimating?
I don't have, sorry, council member, I don't have it in front of me. Do you have it, Derek? These are peak hour, I believe.
Okay, just.
So it's 38 dwelling units. We know that roughly on a townhouse it's 7 to 8 vehicles per day per unit. And that's individual, one in, one out, 7 to 8 a day.
And a lot of those are controlled. I mean, people going to work, people coming home and everything. What if you had an establishment in there, like a Walmart? How many vehicles per day do you think would be going in and out?
The traffic analysis did address that, and it was 10 times or more of that
Absolutely.
number.
Absolutely. All right.
And just, we are preserving the entire front of this property, and I wish I had the slide up tonight that talks about when the school is full operational, we're employing over 60 people. That's not 60 people one time, but those are staff people who come in and out at various times. And the tax revenue to the town was tremendous on this. So we are putting business there that is supporting the tax base of the town of Haymarket. It is a business use that, quite honestly, in my opinion, probably provides more tax because of the amount of equipment and everything else that they have there than something like a knick-knack shop or one of these others. Nothing against those, but just looking at the comparison.
And
Of course, probably what you don't realize, we don't have that tangible tax in the town. That's only to the county.
Right.
But, yep.
True. And the other thing is, one of the reasons I've changed my opinion is because the plan's changed a whole lot, from what we initially talked about. Councilman Leake's question is a legitimate question. I was one who said that was too many. I look at what you have done with the entrance points, with what you're doing on Hunting Path, with the sidewalk, with the lights. I believe this, I definitely believe this helps as far as walkability. I believe it doesn't hurt our walkability within this town, because that's one of my big issues. I actually wish I wrote this down. The other point is the fact I like the idea you do have another commercial establishment on there. That's one of the things that the mayor and I talked about before, was, having, at least one more commercial establishment there and everything. So I've changed my opinion strictly because of the work that's going into it. I forgot the owner's name. She was here, she spoke, was it at the town council or was it the planning commission?
She spoke, I think, at
Work
several.
session.
Yeah.
Okay, and what she talked about, because I had an issue with the number of vehicles coming in there per day, and a lot of them were bussed in. They come in vans and stuff, is what she was telling us.
They do have a dedicated bus service that does correspond with some of the schools, because they also have some school, after-school care, and they also find a lot of carpooling because of different parents working. As far as the density goes, this is 4.8 acres of residential only, just the residential portion, and 38 units is 8 units per acre, which is at the low end of any townhouse development, low end of the density range. So this is only 8 units per acre on the townhouse side.
The play area there, how large is that, and what are you looking at putting in there?
This play area, you're talking about this area?
This and the top left corner.
Up here, or top left?
Yes, sir.
This is a full multi-station potluck system. We
Open
say
to anyone.
we don't police it.
No,
It's
no.
typically on because there's an insurance issue with homeowner-owned ground versus public ground.
Yes, sir.
So we don't police it, but it is an HOA facility that sits there. The ground in here is mandated by state code,
Right.
because that is a child care facility by state code. It's a child school, and the state code mandates that you have so many square feet of exterior area per child.
Councilman Chen, I'm going to reach out to Councilman Day to hear your thoughts, sir. I think when this was first coming around, you had some ideas that I don't think the council has heard tonight. So with that, I open.
Yeah, they might be a little unconventional, but how many stories is your school building?
The school is one story
One story.
because of the accessibility requirements that you need in the school system. And when the expense, anytime you go above one story, as we find in the public schools now, in Loudoun County, I'm dealing with 2-story public schools, and they become quite expensive because of the vertical transportation. system.
Weren't they going to have offices upstairs? I thought it was a two-story.
They have some offices up there, but not classrooms.
Gotcha. So it is a two-story building?
It's 2 stories.
Right, but not a very limited office upstairs?
It's offices up, I don't want to mislead. It's all
Right.
classroom on the first floor, some offices on the second floor.
Okay. Staff only for that?
Staff only, and as long as we make equivalent accommodations, we meet the requirements.
Well, again, the unconventional idea that would kind of maybe address everybody's idea.
You can just get your mic a little closer.
To address
Thank you.
everybody's idea is concerns. Would it be possible to make part of the lower level of the school on Main Street, again, some sort of retail establishment, and you would still have the second floor of the school on Main Street? You could still put your sign up on the second store. You would still be displaying the school on Main Street, or on the main drag, so you'd still have your school on the main drag, but the lower level, again, portion in mind specifically, would be dedicated to retail. That way you accomplish both tasks.
I've been doing this a while,
Sure.
I've worked in a lot of different types of planned communities and near traditional design communities. The one thing we get into that we're all, as parents, former parents, grandparents, we have security issues. And one of the key issues today in school systems is the security aspect. So I have not seen that type of a prototype for a school system, where in fact we were looking, I serve on Affordable Dwelling Unit Advisory Board in Loudoun County, and we were looking at trying to marry up putting affordable housing on top of some of the schools, and the first thing that came up was no. From a security standpoint, you can't do it.
No.
Well, the access on the bottom wouldn't be access to the school necessarily.
Right.
It would have its own entrance.
It's just that you're mixing two types of things, and there's laws about types of people and how close certain groups can be to schools and other situations that it was basically a non-starter when we started talking about that as an alternative for affordable housing.
Okay. Well, I said it was unconventional, so.
Thank you.
Questions or comments?
Mayor.
Good.
I'd like to go back to Councilman Shannon's question. I know exactly where he's going, and I'd like to have the open conversation, if you'll indulge me, in regards to the question of what would the vehicle per day count be if a Walmart were to go in there, or something where I believe Councilman Shannon is going in this. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but if a more intense use, or what could go in there based off
More
what
by
is it,
right
by
use?
right uses.
On the
So
B1?
the reference of a Walmart was used, and I'd like to use that reference as well as use maybe some smaller scale references as well. Walmart was used. If anyone's familiar with the Walmart that's down the street, anybody guess how many acres that Walmart pad is?
Good. 10 acres, I don't know.
12.2, 12 and change. This site itself is only 7.1. So to be able to put a large superstore of X amount of square footage, it's not going to fit in there. Let alone, please think, when have you ever seen a Walmart, Target, any large store like that be standalone by itself in a unit, even if they were able to make it fit down to 7 acres? Not going to happen. I open the floor if anyone can think of a spot to where it is. You're going to put these large anchor tenants in shopping centers that have other strip malls, other secondary and tertiary uses that help flood it. A development like such, when you're looking at what is by right allowed, and let's walk through them real quick, because I think this is important. So I appreciate everyone indulging my time, but utilizing a bed and breakfast, a brewery, a business being short-term rental, business support center, communication services, consumer repair services, daycare center, farmers market, financial institution, hotel, office, general, personal improvement services, personal services, restaurants, restaurant mobiles, restaurant small, store general, store groceries, store liquor, store neighborhood convenience, studio, fine arts, veterinary, hospital, clinic. So if we look at those that were just stated that were by right The largest ones that you have to look at is, all right, grocery store, right, which is your Walmarts, your Targets, your Giants, your larger things. But again, ladies and gentlemen, they're not going to be able to fit in this site. Even if they were to be able to shrink it down with your buffers requiring at 25 feet around all residential, having to park it itself with based off what our parking regulations are at the size of what it is, they're not going to be able to fit that in there. So I like utilizing the thought process of what could go in there based off our by rights, but actually look at our by rights, look at what is allowed, because I would say 90% of what is stated in here is more of what's considered to be in a strip mall or an Atlas Walk or a promenade, to where you have multiple tenant uses along there. Exactly what needs to be up on Washington Street. Again, I'm not saying that the mixed-use development's not good. It's great. It allows the walkability. The other comment, Councilman Shannon said, it does not hurt the walkability. I agree, it does not hurt, but does it promote? Because if you look at the intent of the B1, it's to promote walkability. I agree, it doesn't hurt it, but does it promote it? I would argue that the answer is no, it does not promote it. Again, I think this plan needs to go back to the Planning Commission. I think it needs to be looked at to pushing the school back, shrinking the amount of dwelling units, which is a priority to the Planning Commission based off of their October meeting, or excuse me, their January meeting, to where they came up with this board that said schools are overcrowded. I'm not saying mixed use is not the answer. I think it is the answer with this unit, with how it's per se landlocked, with how you only have a small amount of road frontage up front. I agree that if it was fully commercial, that you would have high vacancy rates in the back because no one can see back there. No one can see which tenants are in the back. I think the residential in the back is good. I think the amount of units that is proposed is too high for this special use. I think we really need to consider putting more residential up front. And again, traffic is traffic. Traffic's going to generate vehicle no matter what.
Said more residential up front, more business?
No, more business, excuse me. Business up front, mirroring what they have on the western side of their entrance to the right-hand side, but expanding it. And then looking at what traffic conditions there are. Again, it needs to be looked at if VDOT will go ahead and put a left-hand turn. They may come back and say, no, there's not enough room. They may say, no, you can't just veer off to the side, but it needs to be looked at, as well as right in, right out. These things can be considered and can be handled at the site plan phase. But if they're asking us to look at this SUP to where conditions can be put on, at that point, I believe it's important for us to look at it now and look at it at this time rather than the site plan phase when this is already approved and going through. So I really urge council to look at this and think, does this promote walkability? Or putting commercial up on Washington Street, would that promote even more? Does it allow for folks to be able to have those uses where they can walk in, walk off? Does it still allow to have the units in the back to promote that mixed-use development? Yes, it would come at a cost of losing about 12 townhomes, the 4 on the lower left there, to park the new commercial, as well as shifting the school back would lose that row of 8. But I really urge council to look at that and make the recommendation to go back there to be able for them to take those into consideration. I apologize, Mr. Barnett, I did not have the updated, that additional 10 pages. I will request that from staff to be able to take a look at. I was going based off of what I saw there earlier, to where maybe those, they did take into consideration the hotel use that was recently done, but if you stated that it was sent in December and our site plan was also sent or approved in December, I would say that with just the bare timing of those two being approved and talked about at the same meeting, that it most likely was not taken into consideration. But I don't want to speak for your traffic engineer without looking at that TIA.
Other comments from other council members?
I need to comment, Mr. Mayor. Saying Walmart was being a little bit facetious. I don't want to see a Route 1, a strip mall in this town. Absolutely do not want to see that. I don't want to see a 7-Eleven come in there. I don't want to see any businesses come in there, and by right, they can do it, that's going to increase the mission of our police department here. So that's my concern as far as additional businesses. I totally stand by my comment that this does not hurt the walkability. When you look at the sidewalks, the things they're doing there, we're getting people to walk to our businesses here. I tell you, the last couple of days, because it's great weather, it's been a pleasure seeing all of people walking around here. How many of these folks would go up and use I know they got their own play area. Our town playground up there is absolutely getting used every day. I love it. So I probably not my first rodeo, but I understand a Walmart wouldn't go in there. But there are other stores that could go in there, and I just, like I said, I don't want to see a bunch of little strip malls and things have some of the same problems they're having down in Alexandria on Route 1 and stuff. Absolutely do not want to see that, would not support that.
Okay.
I'd like to share some quick comments, and then I'm good.
All right.
Just quick
Go ahead.
comments. I promise I won't be long. I just want to say, just real quickly, my opinion on this. I actually think, I just want to say that I love the fact that you're actually putting a school in there. Again, looking at the surrounding areas, you've got, of course, Healthy Paws, you've got Haymarket Baptist Church, you've got the homes behind here, you've got homes across the street, you've got, I actually like, I appreciate you putting the business up front there. I would kind of prefer there be a few less townhomes, but, overall, I'm actually kind of pleased with what you're putting there and where you're putting it. So, quick comments, that's all I had.
Okay. Councilman Morris, I think you've been
Thank
very
you.
patient. I can
Yes.
see
Hey,
you're like when
we all have areas to work on, and mine is that. This process started, the application was submitted April 4th, 2019. We have had monthly meetings since August, except for the month of November. I have attended 2, and I have given my comments, of which they were addressed. Personally, having attended 2 meetings, I have had enough opportunity to bring my concerns to you and ask you to address them, which you have. Thank you. I personally think it's unfair to the applicant to now at this stage, after 4 public hearings and 6 meetings, to now bring up these topics. It is unfair to the applicant. If we're trying to build our town, and at this stage, when the applicant is waiting for a final approval for us to come up with these long list of demands, you tell me what were we doing as council members for the past 10 meetings. I think it is unfair to the applicant. Those are great points, but they should have been made 2 months ago. Those are excellent conditions, but they should have been made 4 months ago. We are ready to act. I am ready to act. And if the rest of the council is willing to look at this and realize that the Planning Commission has looked at it and forwarded it to us, we need to trust the Planning Commission and trust our own instincts. We have done our homework. But this is unfair to the applicant to now bring these points up to say, oh, we should push the building back and get rid of 12. If we get rid of 12 townhouses, I guarantee you that this project would be scrapped. I think it is unfair. I think we need to get to a place right now. We have done 10 meetings. We have given the public enough notice. We have allowed them to share all their concerns. We have allowed them to come with different ways. You guys have gone through and reorientated the map. You have listened to, the biggest one that I'm impressed with is you cutting off traffic on Hunting Path. I never thought that would ever go through. But you guys did it. On top of that, you're going to light Hunting Path Road. Listen, I'm not saying it because I'm biased because I live there. But you guys have gone above and beyond $789,000 that you're putting in proffers that you didn't have to put in. It's not conditional, but you're willing to do it. And I think the town needs to come behind you,
The town needs to support the effort of what you're making, and I totally respect and understand the rest of the council members who have shared opinions on what we could see for improvements. But we have had 10 meetings. This is not the time to be coming now to the applicant and saying, hey, push the school backwards or put offices on top of the school. We need to act. We need to build our town. That's the reason I came back on council, to continue what we started 5 years ago.
Any other
Tell me
thing?
when to give my resolution.
Okay, well, we're still discussing this thing, that's what's so nice about it. Other thoughts from other council members?
We need to act on it. Actually, we cannot just talking, let's move on.
Right.
We just, if we holding, it's 21st century. Look at China making one hospital in 7 days.
Yeah, that's correct.
Hostage,
For the
word is hostage. We're holding the
Yeah.
applicant
Just
hostage.
we are, any development comes in and we just talking, we are not acting. I want to act on it.
Okay.
Concur to.
Councilman Leak, do you have anything? And I have a
Final
few-
comment, and then I'll yield the floor to Councilman Morris for his motion.
Well, I think I've got something to say as well.
Well, feel free. Just to iterate on that, I apologize for not being able to get to the applicant, Councilman Morris. Unfortunately, I was out of town when it first came on our meeting in December 2nd. Secondly, when they came in front of the commission on the 3rd, in January, they had went ahead and changed and rescinded their current application. So each time it continued to change, each time it came in front of the Planning Commission, which you can see if you look back at the August 19th meeting, then the October meeting, December, and as well as there being in January. So because it kept changing each time, as well as respecting my Planning Commission liaison, I was waiting for it to come in front of the Town Council for us to be able to take action, speak about the whole 9 yards. Lastly, Councilman Shannon, you shouldn't lose sleep at night, because based off of a traditional 7-Eleven convenience store, whatever it may be, is 4,000 square feet. That unit up front there is 5,000 square feet. If you take our parking ratio of 1 to 200 for a convenience store, they would not be able to adequately park that 7-Eleven, plus the additional 1 to 2,000 square feet of whatever additionally they put in there. So granted speaking, they could put anything. If we truly look at the by right uses, I don't think we should be afraid, because remember, it's a by right and then you have to park it as well. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, further comments there before I have...
I just want to say,
Sure.
I kind of see it both ways. I just to share, I definitely respect all of your comments, for sure. In both of yours, I've heard, of course, lots of comments here, and I think both have a lot of merit. Yeah, we definitely should move on. At the same time, if you can get things, if you can improve at the last minute and before you move on with the mistake, then you should do that as well. So we still have an opportunity to fix things and not rush. And at the same time, I don't think we've necessarily rushed. Like you said, we spent a lot of time working on this. So I just want to share that I think both aspects are valid.
And I think also to understand the process, that as one of the residents here stated, that, these type of things, this isn't just a by right use to be able to build a building. This is a special use. This is where we have to really keep defining and making sure we've got what we are going to live with for the next X amount of years. So I think the process, and whether or not it takes 10 meetings or 20 meetings, if it's still changing, it's still evolving, it's still trying to get, we have to realize one thing too here. This is an applicant that has a contract purchase. We don't have the owner here tonight. The owner's not here. This is the applicant, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you've purchased the property. No. So this is someone that would like to purchase the property and build this based on that. And obviously, we know the dynamics of someone building something. They are going to what? Try to maximize their profits and be able to put in as many homes as they possibly can when keeping it within the guidelines. And we appreciate the fact that a lot of the space is at the lower end, and I appreciate that. The fact that you given up a lot of the parking or added parking. I think that is very much a plus, because we've seen templates of our communities, not even mentioning them, where every single ounce, every single space, and it's a nightmare to even get a fire truck through that community. So the fact that we have the process, we're doing it, we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And I just wanted to point that out too, because I think there is some misconception that these are the applicants that are wanting to purchase this property and to develop it this way. And by us giving our input, we've seen the changes. We've seen the changes from a HOA aspect to then addressing those and addressing it even to my aspect of our meeting that we had. And it's like, look, where's my retail up front? And I thank you for accommodating that and switching the building and being able to do that, you know. So I guess with that, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew those points. With that, if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain, as I promised, the motion, since it was retracted, to go back.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I move the Town Council approve the Van Meter special use permit request as presented in the amended application with the proposed conditions of approval as presented.
I will second.
Okay, discussion on the motion. I think we've probably discussed enough, but this is a chance to, if there's any other further discussion on the motion. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Shannon.
Yes.
Leek.
No.
Hampi.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Day.
All right. All right, thank you very much. We've got through that. I appreciate your time and indulgence for, as
Thank
you've
you
seen
much.
the process work here. Actually, do we need to take a break here for our, yes. Why don't we go ahead and take a 5-minute break? All right, and we'll reconvene at 10 minutes before the hour. Thank you all very much. All right, great. Thank you and welcome back. All right, our next item is, we're on page number 28 of our package, the appointment of Chris Morse to the Finance Committee, and we actually have a draft motion on there as well.
Who?
Yeah, yeah. So just to understand, I guess the background, I think it already says it, but the fact is that he wasn't officially appointed. It was on the advice of legal counsel that he actually be appointed for the meetings that he actually attended. So with that.
Are you ready to
Yes.
entertain? Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Councilman Morris to the Finance Committee with effective date of December 19th, 2019, and ratify any actions he has taken.
Motion on the floor. Seconded by Councilman Leak. Discussion on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And an abstention from, you're going to abstain?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. And abstain from, abstention from Councilman Morris. All right, great.
Thank you for the vote of confidence.
All right, our next one is our resolution 2020-003, and we're on page 29 of our packet, and resolution on page 30. Actually, our draft motion is on page 29. Questions on this, or otherwise I'll go ahead and...
I have some questions.
Sure.
Or comments. Do you want it first?
Oh,
before
absolutely,
the
let's,
motion?
let's take it.
Thank you. I have a concern with this, the resolution authorizing the town to participate in a town consortium. I'm wondering if we're putting ourselves in a bind if we have unsatisfactory service being provided by the company that we cannot readily get out of the contract because we're tied into with other localities. I'm wondering if we are putting ourselves in a bind where we're unable to renegotiate should there be any issues. I know that in the past we have renegotiated our contract personally one-on-one just by the contact that we've had with the town staff and the representative that we use right now.
I'm wondering if we're putting ourselves in a bind, should we choose to exit the contract, knowing that it is part of a larger contract? And if there is a shortage of trucks picking up our trash, since Haymarket is probably the smallest town that would be involved, will we be left out? Will we be the last to get picked up if there's a shortage of trash trucks? I would love to know how much it's saving us by being a part of this group to participate in with the other towns, or I think they're all towns. And what are their rates of increase over the next few years? Is it something where they may negotiate a small price now, but then there is a large percentage increase over the next few years once we're tied into it? So those are my concerns and questions that I have.
And very good questions and concerns, to let you know. I think the best probably to address it would be our business manager. As we kind of look through this, as we're coming up on our renewal, is where the traction first started with being able to renew. And you're correct. It was actually Green Hill Crossing that started the first renegotiation when I was on council. We took Green Hill's contract and compared it to the town, and actually was able to save $20,000, comes to mind, just by using Green Hill to compare with us as we tried to renegotiate. And so with that, the idea, I think, came from a TANV meeting that it's a possibility that we could either get other localities that are using the same service, either Republic or AAA or whoever at the time, and be able to use them collectively to get a better negotiation purchasing power, let's call it. But I'll let Chris kind of address some of those concerns, because I think everyone that you have mentioned, I think, has been addressed through the several meetings that Chris has attended.
So at the first meeting, right off the bat, the first thing I said is that if, number one, it negatively impacts the town, we're not going to be involved, as well as number two, if we have to pay more for the service, we're not going to be involved. And that's why it's set up this way, how the group goes in together and put it out for bid for these trash companies to service a total of, I think it's like 8,000. Middleburg is one of the larger ones, and Percival is one of the larger ones, and then we're right up there because Round Hill, Hamilton, they're very small. So because of that, we have every right, just like any other contract, if we were to go and get it independent of these other towns, we'd have the same right to walk away as we would if we were to go and just re-up with Republic one more time. So in all those items, we're just doing this to get a better price to see if it's going to work, and if not, then we're not going to be part of it. But this is just to move forward with the request for proposals.
Okay.
Right, so it's very preliminary, I guess, is to answer that. Questions, Councilman Lee?
It's stated in the resolution, it says, whereas, third whereas down, halfway through, it says, with the goal of developing individual contracts with one vendor to provide refuse and recycling service to each town, said contracts to be effective upon the expiration. And then two more whereases down below that. It says participation in the town consumer would not obligate the town to enter into a contract with the recommended vendor, but rather would simplify, allow them to explore the alternatives. So then once we pass this, allow us to go into it, we can then get those numbers to put in front of finance or council and just go ahead and make action after that. But this resolution protects both those questions that Councilman Moore said.
Okay.
Where do you see that?
On the following page.
Yeah, page number 30 of the packet.
Draft resolution.
Yep. So with that, any other questions regarding this? There again, we're trying to maximize our purchasing or negotiating power here. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move the Haymarket Town Council approve resolution 2020-003, authorizing the town to participate in the town consortium for the purpose of the development and issuance of a regional request for proposals for refuge and recycling service contracts in each town.
I second.
Motion on the floor and seconded by Councilman Morris. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Shannon.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Panthy.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Day.
Yes.
Wonderful, great, okay. Moving on, our department reports. We have our town staff administration reports on page 32 of our packet. If there's any further questions or concerns. And actually, just to make sure, we're doing this as a weekly thing. This is still working out for everyone. We get weekly reports of what happened with the staff during the week. It looks like each department weighs in, just making sure, and then we collectively put them together as a monthly end of report. Yeah.
There was one thing that was brought up last week concerning the business manager's report, and it has to do with additional information given to council members. There was, I can quickly just share what it was. It was, there was a report that the business manager with the mayor had visited a soft opening for a business. And I felt as a council member, I should be informed, or I should have the information as to soft opening, type of business that's opening, instead of just a blurb, we attended a soft opening of a business. It was clarified. I mean, through an email, I just asked the business manager, and he shared with me what it was. And I understand that they wanted to keep it private, but I think keeping it private should not exclude the council members. I think we should have more information, and I'm not saying it for prideful reasons. I just think if something like that is happening, the council should know what's happening, what businesses are moving, and who's having a soft opening or an opening, because we may not be privy to the
Nor is it FYI, I guess, because I think with this one, my understanding, it wasn't known until like the day before or something. So it was like very much an ad hoc, oh, by the way, come by the store, type thing. It wasn't like advertising that, hey, we're doing a soft opening on this particular day, mark your calendar, which...
That's true, but whilst the mayor is the chief executive of the town, it is a council that, it's a council-led organization.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking anything away from the mayor. He is the chief executive, but it's the council that makes decisions and should be informed of things like that.
Right. Yeah. I think that we could actually, as they come up and as they will, that the events to be able to then distribute as we know them, to the council.
So February 13th, that business has a hard opening, and we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony.
A what?
Yeah. Yep.
Hard opening?
I know, I got that email.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, man. All right. I want to make sure.
Okay.
How is it that you know and I didn't know?
Know what? Because I was on their Facebook page.
Any other questions for our business manager?
Mr. Mayor, do we need to have a directive at this time for the what was discussed in work session, or no? Whatever was discussed is enough. The directive for. Okay, so we don't need a directive from council meeting.
I don't think, because we didn't, correct. And that this is, I'm sorry, regarding
updating the website.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Elections.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a directive.
Okay.
Yep. Next up, our chief of police, Chief Lands.
Good evening. In the interest of time, I'll skip any questions on the statistics because I know you won't have any. We did have a couple things happen this month. The grant workshop we went to, so we'll be applying for several more grants for the next grant year, which starts in September. I'd like to point out a video that we helped make with the police department for an organization called Blue Help that deals with police officer suicides and any type of mental help that police officers need to get them through any events, traumatic events that they've seen in the line of duty. That music video we did with them is up over 1 million views now, which we're very proud of that. It's reached a lot of people. We've got a lot of feedback on that. Really happy that we were a primary participant in that video. This little town again went national again. We really appreciate them helping us or asking us to help in that. The Commonwealth Attorney, the brand new Commonwealth Attorney met with me This month, she went over her agenda, some things that she's cutting out of her organization, some improvements that she's doing. So it was a good meeting, interesting, seeing her agenda and the way that she leans and the way that she's going to lead her department.
Does that affect us at all?
And so she's cutting out all prosecution of misdemeanor drug offenses, but that won't affect us because we have our own town attorney that handles all of our misdemeanor drug cases, so we will still continue to prosecute that. A quick question for you, Martin. Are we able to prosecute our own felonies? No. Okay, so that is a law in Virginia that she does that, because that would be great if we could continue to do that. But so it won't affect us there. It will affect us in the felony stage, any of our felonies, particularly drug-related. She sees it as a victimless crime, and there won't be as harsh of penalties as before. But she will go after felony amounts, just not as hard as before, and no misdemeanor amounts at all. She states that she wants to be very hard on DUIs, which is great. And she's going to be working on what she considers her primary directives from her electorates, which is domestic violence, human trafficking, and bigger victim crimes like robbery and burglary and things like that.
Okay.
So question on that before you move on, sir. So is that in any way going to affect the standard outcome, the normal outcome of cases, or that's outside of her jurisdiction? Like,
what do you mean by standard outcome?
What I'm trying to get at is there a point for us still going ahead and bringing these cases to the court?
As we were just discussing, the town has its own prosecutors. In my office, Brad Marshall and Olan Simmons are doing the prosecutions for you all. And so we continue to prosecute the cases that we find meritorious that are brought to us by the police department. We have no policy agenda that we would be taking.
Okay. I would just dislike if the case was that we're bringing charges there and then it's being dropped at the court level.
No.
Okay.
Not as long as it's misdemeanors. Those are all handled by OLON.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to report that Officer Clatterbuck is off of field training. He's on the street on his own now, is already being pretty active, and is doing well.
Get a DUI, did I understand?
He did. On field training.
Right.
He had a DUI.
I just want to clarify that he didn't have a DUI. He stopped somebody.
Yes,
for
He
DUI.
arrested someone
Hey, I
for a
think-
DUI.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, sir.
That's a caliber of our
That's a different
officers.
story.
Like to go over just quickly a couple of 2020 goals that we have for the department. This year, we're going to couple with the town and with Miss Emily and Corey when they do the events. We're going to do a focus on Special Olympics this year on all of our events. We're going to do things like the polar plunge and any type of event that we do that involves donations. We'll go to the Special Olympics this year. You'll see officers participating in a lot of events that have to do with that. We're focusing on training this year for Officer Hood. You'll see him gain general instructor. He's expressed interest in being our taser instructor, and I've assigned him last week to be our evidence tech, so he'll take a bigger step into the department. And Officer O'Neill will become our new radar instructor and our new commercial motor vehicle officer. He's actually in training this month to do that. We currently have Sergeant Shaver as our commercial vehicle officer, but his role as admin primarily has taken him off of that as much as he could be, so we're going to transition a new officer into that. Our main focus this year will be the traffic safety. We're seeing a huge increase in traffic in the town, and based on some of the projects that are coming up, we suspect that it will continue to be more and more of an issue. We've already started this year and will continue through this year enhancing our traffic safety program through more and more available shifts for officers to come in on their off time in an overtime capacity and enforce speeding and bike safety, stop sign running, and school bus safety on Washington Street and the main streets that run through the town. We've made a sizable investment in an open cone trailer, filled that with hundreds of cones and delineators. We have just purchased a signboard and plan to purchase one or two more in the future. So we're, as a department, we're taking an interest in the lead in ramping up our supplies for traffic safety because we think that's where it's going to be needed in the future. Once we get everything in place, we'll do intensive training with officers on how to deploy these things, what the best tactics are for like deploying over in the diamond or in the major intersections, on how to get vehicles around other wrecked vehicles or any other type of traffic issues we will have. So that's it in a nutshell of what our plans are, and they'll change as we go. We'll add some more things. But that's all I have. If there's any questions from
Okay.
council.
Any questions for the chief?
In regards to that time, Chief, I'll yield all my questions to next meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Any further questions? Yep, looks like Siri's chiming in. With that, we'll go ahead and go to our town treasurer's report. Mr. Gonzalez, how are you, sir?
I'm good.
Great. Obviously, you've had a finance meeting. You guys are looking at, I assume, the budget.
Yes, we're looking to work, have a final draft budget to be presented to the Finance Committee on the 20th of February. From there, we'll get some feedback from them to present, hopefully, on the March meeting, work session, to council.
Okay.
Just one quick update. I would like to inform you guys that we have received the CAFR report for the 2019. It's getting finalized, so we should have that report to share with the public and with you guys. It was a positive one, as usual. Nothing out of the ordinary. So look forward to share that with you all.
Great. Okay. Questions for the treasurer? Anyone? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to our town planners report. We're on page 49. Thank you for being so patient, Ms. Lockhart.
Yes, I just wanted to bring to your attention one item I put in my planners report following a discussion that we had in the interest of looking into sidewalks along Fayette Street. So just to kind of start the discussion, we don't have to go into detail this evening, but on page 50, right there at the top, you'll see that the linear feet along Fayette Street for a sidewalk would be roughly 650 feet. That is about 200 feet shy of what we're about to do here on Jefferson. Just to kind of put it into perspective for you, there is one easement along Fayette Street with a dog stay out, so that's on the west side of the street, and that would take out 135 feet of that sidewalk. Portion there. So we're still a little bit over what we are planning to do here on Jefferson, just so you can kind of think about some of the costs. It's also, we need to look into, there's no curb and gutter for stormwater along Fayette Street, so it's all swales there on the side and little retention areas that don't always do the best job anyway. So that would be another cost that we would possibly be looking into. That is not something on Jefferson Street that is included in that sidewalk plan. So we are maintaining, pretty much Jefferson Street how it is, just adding in the sidewalk and then taking care of stormwater just to the inside of the property. So something for everybody to think about, something to get the ball rolling. We would need to look into purchasing the property to do the sidewalk because there is not enough room on the street to do it, and
Or maybe they'll gift it to us.
or gift it.
Yes. So just for the understanding, so Fayette would then, I would assume, drain down to Sherwood Forest infrastructure? And when Sherwood Forest was designed or built, did they ever take that into consideration, that they might have to have water coming down Fayette?
I'm sorry, I take that back.
Okay.
There is a possibility that it would go to Sherwood Forest. However, there is a slight incline up to Sherwood Forest, so it's more likely going to come down to Washington. Because as you see it today, if you were to go out there where, say Dominic just did his 3 homes, the water just rushes down. And so those 3 storm pipes aren't clear, and then the last residence right before you get to Exit Realty, when those aren't clear, it is into the street and can cause quite an issue. So it has actually come down to Washington and would be gathered at that curb and gutter.
Okay.
Because the stormwater management, just which happens to be right behind my house, gets full with the water that we have. So,
Yeah, it would come towards Washington,
yeah.
Okay.
just how the road is.
All right. Quick question about sidewalk, since I was making some notes, if you brought it up, I apologize. Did y'all get with Supervisor Canlin's office, find out what the status is of the rest of that sidewalk?
Just one
Yeah.
other real quick update. I wanted to let you guys know Katie will be back tomorrow, so we're going to have a 10 a.m. meeting to touch base on everything. I don't know if everyone was aware, but she was out on maternity leave, so we will be welcoming her back if you have any engineering questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
So yes, I did reach out to Supervisor Canlin's office, and I had wanted staff stop by to have a meeting with us. Essentially, the project, just like it was mentioned before, it was a $2 million project, but they did not have the funds available at this time, but they had indicated, was it last week or the week before last, they were working with Prince William County Transportation and other entities to try and identify some additional funding sources to get that done.
And a timeline? No timeline. They had the money before and it was redirected? And that happens, but I mean, is that the case?
To my knowledge, that's what I...
The last communication was April of last year with Supervisor Canlin, which he said, oh, by the way, just for instance, my staff just asked it, and he said that we would be top priority, and then it went dormant, and with continuing, trying to reach out to his office, we find out that now they don't have the money.
Could we follow up and ask him for a timeline, what he's looking at? Is he looking at this fiscal year? Is he looking at next fiscal year? Is it a 6-year plan?
Well, they were...
Just an ideal?
They were currently meeting with VDOT and Prince William County Transportation for funding when they met with me last week or week
Okay,
before that.
please follow up soon, within a week or so, and find out what they, I mean, that's what I'd like to see. I want to stay on top of it. Yes, sir.
And not only Supervisor Cannon, but Supervisor Larson for the properties to the south, being able to go and connect us with, Somerset Crossing.
I think it's important to understand why it went dormant. Is it a fault of our own where we didn't follow up with them, or they just they went dormant?
We kind of, from my VDOT hat, as you know, I'm no longer in charge of Prince William, I'm in charge of Fairfax now, but we met with them before and we talked about that because I had citizens coming to me wanting a sidewalk there, and VDOT doesn't do sidewalks for the most part. So it was, in talking with Chris, it was that, and even the mayor last year, I believe, we were told that they had $2 million for the project, which really made a lot of people happy, especially with the park and ride there now. And that being used even more and more. And I know money gets redirected. I understand that. But I think we need to stay, we need to stay on top of them and asking them to make sure it's not like a 6-year plan.
Yeah, it looks like it was April 30th where he said that it might, quote, it might take some time, but it's now an official application for us.
That's when he spoke here?
Well, no, well, that was back in April of last year.
Okay.
And then my follow-ups to him, hey, can you please give us an update? Here's when I was saying, I'm at a meeting right now. Can you please let us know any update on this? And I kept copying and pasting his own words for him, and this was even as of early as just January of this year. My last thing was any update on this, and I think he might have been at a board meeting. He put up, I thank you. So I'm not sure.
So I'm just saying we need to stay current with him, and I mean, bug him about it if we have to, at least get some type of timeline when we're looking at. So.
Some kind of commitment.
But I'm wondering, that's where I'm going with it. Are we not bugging him enough?
If I may just
Yeah.
add, prior to Chris coming on board, Shelley did keep in touch with the office and ask for routine updates, and we had little to no feedback. So
Okay.
she was trying to push for that, just to get the answer.
That's the answer I'm looking for.
And I actually personally myself also called several times. Their office are not responsive at all. That's maybe we have to call him in here and talk to him face to face.
Yeah.
Can we
So-
invite him to a meeting?
We can, absolutely. We
I
continue.
think we ought to invite
He is
him to a
representing
meeting.
us, and it cannot be ignored.
Right.
I know they had to, there were some big projects that came up county-wise, and they had to redirect money. So that may have very well been it, but I would just say if we're told that it's a priority,
We were told that we were part of an application, that we were,
then just let us know, so just don't die on the vine
Right.
or whatever. That's important.
yeah.
Especially with that parking ride, because again, it's being used more and more.
And it's just too bad, a shame that those 400 homes that are going up to the south of us, that
Exactly.
that couldn't have been some type of consideration of like, hey, let's link this community with the town. Can we get it up to the railroad tracks? Yeah.
I understand all of that, and I don't mean to beat it. It's just that if we have staff member who has been trying to call, trying to get in touch, and nothing, we're getting nothing from the supervisor's office, then it probably needs to be kicked up to the mayor to officially send out something, or whatever. It's maybe inviting him here, find a different route, but it cannot just be staff cannot get anything from the supervisor's office.
I agree. That's why I said if we could invite, I mean, I know I sat in one of his aides sat right in front of me in church every Sunday. So Brooke, good lady and everything, and I don't talk business with her at church, but at the same time, in my other hat, I was dealing with him quite a bit. So I just think we ought to invite.
Either that, or maybe we just go down to the county supervisor's office during their meeting in our citizens' time.
But
to
I
be able to-
need to know too, because
If
I
that-
see him at church so I'm gonna bother him now.
Yeah.
So you
Good
better
idea.
hide from me when he sees me in
Is
church.
that all right with you? Just say yes.
Okay, all right. Any other, Emily, I'm sorry, any other thoughts or comments from town planner?
Lost your chain of thought.
All right, any other comments for Emily?
That's it.
All right, moving on. Our updates, we have our ARB update. Unfortunately, we don't have Miss Edwards, but, yeah. Miss Emily, maybe you can just give us Cliff Notes?
Yes, so we had an application for the details for the home property that's here on Jefferson Street, 6590. They are looking at removing their accessory structures, so we had a discussion regarding the demolition application, and the board made reference to what they would like to see in future staff reports, and following a more regimented kind of template that will be consistent across all of those, that thus, if something were to be appealed, it can be brought to the council with all of the details. We talked about the bylaws. They've requested some addendums to be added in there to clarify what type of board capacity they serve in, as well as membership duties, things along those lines. So that will be turned over to our town attorney for review this week, and we'll take it back to the ARB February 18th. No, I'm sorry, February 19th is their meeting, with hopes of having an approval that night from the board and then bringing it up to council. And then we just had other various sign applications and businesses come in.
Okay, all right. Planning Commission update.
Primarily what we had tonight, the Van Meter, they came in again, and that was the primary thing that we, was that, Emily, I left my notes at home, that was the main thing. It was a very short meeting, so. We discussed, we worked the comp plan, we had a work session first, and we talked about it, but we've got some takeaways. our town planner gave us some takeaways, so we're still working on that, and it'll be coming up at our next work session and meeting as well. We're trying to move forward that, setting priorities, and so we're moving ahead on that.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, we budgeted some monies for the comp plan to do it for this year?
Yes, we did. And
Yeah.
so our hopes are to work with the Planning Commission to get a set of priorities developed and then start on kind of our very rough draft and then potentially bringing in a contractor to help do the studies or other necessary research that's beyond our reach as staff.
So is there a goal? Is there a goal for this budget
So,
year or this fiscal year?
So one of the goals is to have a charrette for the public by this springtime, so we're aiming for April. That gives us February to set our priorities and then go ahead and have a public meeting where we share those priorities and our other concerns that we want to address, and then hopefully have a rough draft by midsummer.
Oh, okay.
So,
So there is a goal.
yes, and we have work sessions scheduled every meeting now through June, so.
Okay.
we're sitting on it.
All right. Other than our updates, we have our council member time. Councilman Shannon?
Three quick things. The calendars that came out, that's class act, and they're so much larger than last year's. Thank you, staff, for that. That's a nice calendar, it really is. The other thing is, and we were kind of joking, and I mean, I always wave the flag and talk about how great our police force is and our police department, and what an honor it is for me to serve on this dais and as liaison to the Planning Commission. Tonight was, I think, a good example, even though we weren't elbowing each other. It is nice that you can agree to disagree with someone on this dais, and you still have respect, admiration for them, and you're still friends. That's how I try to approach everything here, because I'm going to disagree at times with different folks. But I just, that's the one reason why I decided, that I'll put my paperwork in, and, if I'm elected to run again for another term, is because of my respect for this dais. Everyone here, anyone else that runs, would be the same thing. But I just, I appreciate the professionalism on this dais tonight. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Councilman Leake?
Councilman Shannon obviously didn't see Facebook because I unfriended him, but.
I had you blocked already.
Yeah. No, I'm totally joking. No, I sincerely, it's one of the best things that show the diversity of the council is the mere fact that we don't always agree on everything. We're always going to have a difference of opinion, which is great. I mean, that's what shows the diversity of the council through the different communities that we represent and the people that we represent. So I'm honestly blessed to work with you all, and I greatly appreciate it. The directive through work session, obviously to reach out and try to promote as much as possible that the declaration for candidacy is by March 3rd. So that's great, just making sure everyone knows about that. Finance Committee, we're pushing hard for this budget to get a draft out in front of council as soon as possible, so we don't have to worry about a June special meeting to try to pass something. We're looking to get this going, but at the same time, we're going to be looking to go ahead and doing our tax rates as well, because until you know what your tax rates are, you can't necessarily pass a physical budget itself without knowing what revenue streams that you are bringing in, and since those tax rates are based off of what we pass, we will be looking to schedule public hearings to get that going and to get that tax rate advertised and voted upon so we can properly calculate our revenue streams. John Marshall Commons, speaking with Mr. Barnett, he stated that they did get their approval from VDOT for the roundabout. So
that's good to know.
News to me.
For which roundabout?
The roundabout for John Marshall Commons.
Yeah.
He said that that just came down the pipeline. Planning Commission, I'm going to be asking the Planning Commission to review the CIP that they passed last year, to then come in front of council for council's review consideration. So if that could be a directive to staff to ask them to look at it, update it, and get it in front of us. We, as you can tell by looking at the finance, we are going to be projected to come in higher on meals tax, as we thought would possibly be the situation. How much over is unknown at this point. Right now we're tracking about $35K higher than we were this time last year, which puts us at $750, but we still have many months to come. So I project, as I stated last year, we'll come in somewhere probably between 780 and 800, if not push the 800 number. With that, obviously having more revenue than what we have allocated for, the council should be thinking of what we want to do with it. As it was previously stated, we were going to utilize those funds to pay down our current debt service. So if that's what the council is still thinking to do, obviously we won't know how much more we're bringing in till then, but just to have that on everyone's thought and radar. The other item being the pedestrian project, with Katie coming back from maternity leave, as well as working with Chris. They're working with the contractor to see when the start date is. It's going to be my recommendation for council to keep an eye on that, because if it is something that's going to be starting after this fiscal year, we're going, in my opinion, and again, need everyone's input on this, but that $250 that we allocated for this year's budget could be utilized towards a different project in this year's budget. Obviously, we don't just have to spend money to spend money. We want to be fiscally responsible. But with that being said, we also want to make sure that we're going in a forward motion in completing projects if we have the ability to do so. So with that, that's why I'm asking the Planning Commission to review the CIP, see if there's anything they want to add or remove. And then if that project is not going to be completed until next year, and we're going to have to budget for it next year, that frees up about $250,000 out of our operational that we could utilize towards a CIP project or CIP item, things along those lines. So putting that on council's radar as well to consider and think about as we go and forward. We should hopefully know within the next 30 to 60 days when the contractor is looking to start that project, but just something to think about. And that's all I had.
Okay. Councilman Panthy, any?
I have no comment.
Okay. Councilman Morse?
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
My hope is that more people get involved, not only in voicing their votes in the upcoming elections, but also, you know, have a few people who would register to run for council. Council, thank you for the privilege to serve on the Finance Committee. The Blue Help video, probably one of the best videos I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, it was classy. It was very professional. And as I look at majority of the staff, without getting mushy, I can say I'm proud of you guys. We have a good staff. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Councilman Day, anything? All right. My closing comments before we need to go into executive session. All good points. I do think that the staff for this calendar, you know, it was a vision of mine to put this in play, but it was the teamwork of all the members that were associated, whether or not it was Jackie or Kim and Chris. I mean, just all of you all with your input to be able to fine-tune this thing to, I can't tell you how many times it's like, Mayor, are we ready? Are we ready? And just another set of eyes, another catch of either a mistake or tweaking it, even catching the dates of we passed that was in January that were affected the calendar for that year. But I think it was a great thing, a good informational tool that obviously very little expense. And it came from another government too. This came to me at my full-time job and was able to see the town of Herndon of what they produced, and it was like, my gosh, wouldn't this be great? We tried it 2 years ago. We missed it. We got a mini version, obviously, last year, but this production was what I wanted to see spot on, of being able to give all that information, who we are, what the different commissions are, where do we spend our money, which I thought all great ideas, communication of every date that's already planned ahead, that someone can take this, put it on the refrigerator, and know what we're doing in the town. So, and another point is, the fact that we didn't go into debt. I still look back at, the vision for this building, that as we debated that, of whether or not we were going to continue with his dream of having something that we're proud of, the fact that we did it for a fraction of the cost, and we still have a very operational building without having to go into additional debt, and was able to do it off of our current monies in hand. So those are my two closing comments or thoughts.
Just a
Sure.
quick question.
Yes.
We are thinking about putting awning on the front. Where we are on that?
Well, we haven't got it to a proposal aspect of it. There's a couple other things that we would love to do is transition that front entrance to be able to come in and, take a right or take a left. You're going to the police department or the town hall and close this. So we'll continue to look at that and maybe look at the funding possibility for what we have existing as we end up this year, or we project our future. So we haven't forgotten about it, but yeah. So with that, sir, we've got, I think, two important things we need to kind of discuss.
Thank you, Mayor. The formal motion would be to move that the council convene in closed session to discuss the following as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A8, a matter requiring advice of council, specifically dealing with the Second Amendment resolution that was discussed at the work session earlier this evening, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A29, concerning a contract for tourism advertising.
Okay. We have a so moved
So moved.
and seconded.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Motion carries unanimous. We should be back hopefully very shortly. See you. Thank you. Tell me when we're live. All right, great. Welcome back. What is it, about 10:17? Thank you all very much for sticking with us. And our last item of closed session has been completed, so we're at that most important motion of the night.
No, you have to certify.
Oh, you're right, apologies. Certified or...
So the motion would be to certify that each member's knowledge only those matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only those items that were identified in the motion leading to the closed session were heard, considered, or discussed by the town council.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Shannon.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Day.
And Leak, yes. That's all right, it's all good. All right, great. Now we're up to that motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we adjourn.
All right?
Second.
Second by Councilman Morris. No discussion, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we have unanimous. Thank you all very much, appreciate your time.
I gotta go to bed. I get up in a couple hours.